At 0130 hours on January 30th, 1944, 767 Rangers from the 1st and 3rd Battalions silently crossed the line of departure and moved into the cold, dark night toward Cisterna, Italy. They proceeded in single file along the Mussolini Canal drainage ditch, each man carefully placing one foot in front of the other, mindful of the mud, the water, and the crunch of their boots. Complete tactical silence prevailed. No talking, no lights, only the muffled creak of webbing and the occasional splash of boots in icy water. The temperature had dropped near freezing, and every breath hung in the air as vapor, visible in the faint moonlight. The men navigated solely by compass, through absolute darkness, guided by the distant objective, a small town that controlled road junctions vital to the Allied advance from the Anzio beachhead. Intelligence reports had suggested that German defenses ahead were thin, perhaps consisting of scattered outposts, but the Rangers were about to discover the truth. The town had been designated by German command as an assembly area for counterattack forces. The Hermann Göring Panzer Division had concealed 17 Panzer IV tanks around Cisterna, while the 715th Infantry Division held the ground between the Allied lines and the town. Every German unit in the area had been ordered by Field Marshal Albert Kesselring to prepare for a counterattack against any Allied advance. In reality, the Rangers were walking into the heart of the strongest German concentration in the entire Anzio sector. The objective of the mission was clear but perilous: infiltrate German lines under cover of darkness, seize Cisterna before dawn, and hold it until the 3rd Infantry Division could link up. Yet, even before they engaged the enemy, the operation exemplified why the United States had formed Ranger battalions. By 1943, conventional infantry had been unable to penetrate German defenses along the Gustav Line, Monte Cassino, or in fortified Italian towns. Each advance exacted a heavy toll, hundreds of lives, and each strong point required days of artillery bombardment and frontal assaults that bled entire divisions white. The concept of elite raiding forces had been proven by British commandos, who conducted small-scale raids and amphibious operations against occupied European coastlines since 1940, achieving strategic objectives that entire divisions could not. Recognizing this gap, General George Marshall approved the formation of the 1st Ranger Battalion in 1942, modeled on British commando units but composed entirely of American volunteers. Captain William Orlando Darby, a 31-year-old West Point graduate and artillery officer with no prior special operations experience, was selected to lead the unit. His leadership, personal courage, and ability to inspire men became as critical to Ranger success as the training itself. Volunteers were drawn from the 34th Infantry Division and 1st Armoured Division in Northern Ireland, over 2,000 men stepping forward to serve in a hazardous, undefined role. Selection was brutal. Physical conditioning tests eliminated half immediately, character and motivation interviews filtered out others, and only 600 were chosen. These men were sent to Achnacarry Castle in the Scottish Highlands to undergo commando training under Lieutenant Colonel Charles Vaughan, a battle-hardened British officer, and his cadre of veterans. The regimen was merciless: forced marches through mountains with 80-pound packs, obstacle courses, rope climbs, cliff scaling, hand-to-hand combat, amphibious operations, weapons training with American and German arms, and demolitions, all in cold, wet, and muddy conditions. Training used live ammunition, live explosives, and real combat scenarios. One Ranger died, and several were wounded before graduation. By September 1942, 500 men completed the program, physically and mentally forged into an elite fighting force. The first combat test came before the full battalion had graduated. 50 Rangers, attached to British and Canadian units in Operation Jubilee, the raid on Dieppe, proved that their aggressive tactics could succeed even when larger operations failed. While most of the Allied landing force was slaughtered or captured, the Rangers infiltrated and destroyed a German coastal battery, displaying the aggression, stealth, and determination that would define their reputation. Subsequent missions, including Operation Torch in North Africa, demonstrated the same attributes. Rangers captured coastal batteries at Anzio with no casualties, conducted night raids behind enemy lines at Sened Station in Tunisia, and assaulted fortified hills at El Guitar to create breakthroughs for American forces under General Patton. Each mission reinforced the essential truth. Rangers were small, highly trained, aggressive, and unpredictable, capable of achieving objectives conventional forces could not, but often at high cost. Their reputation grew through Sicily and Salerno. At Gela, Rangers landed under fire, assaulted Italian pillboxes, and held the town against counterattacks by the Hermann Göring Panzer Division. Naval gunfire and bazookas were employed at point-blank range to stop advancing German tanks, and hand-to-hand fighting in the streets ensured that the town remained in Allied hands. At Salerno, they held Chunzi Pass against continuous German assaults for 13 days, under constant artillery fire, rationing food and water, and sustaining heavy casualties, all while refusing to give ground. These operations made clear to German commanders that Rangers were a unique threat, small units that required defensive preparations normally reserved for entire divisions. Then came Cisterna, arguably the worst defeat the Rangers ever suffered, yet one that cemented their legendary reputation. As dawn approached, the drainage ditch that had shielded the Rangers ended, and they faced open ground with no cover, spotted immediately by German sentries. The Rangers were now directly in the heart of the German defensive concentration, surrounded by tanks, artillery, and infantry. For 8 hours, they fought with what little ammunition they had, from ditches, shell craters, and farmhouses. The 4th Battalion attempted to relieve them but was halted by German positions. By afternoon, with ammunition expended and casualties mounting, only 6 of 767 Rangers had reached Allied lines. 12 were killed, 36 wounded, and 743 captured. Despite the loss, German intelligence noted that Rangers fought to the death, did not surrender until physically incapable of continuing, and inflicted significant delays and casualties. Even in defeat, they were feared. The legacy continued with the 2nd and 5th Ranger Battalions under Lieutenant Colonel James Earl Rudder. In England, they trained with British commandos, rehearsing live-fire cliff climbs, night operations, and small boat landings. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, 225 Rangers scaled the 100-foot cliffs at Pointe du Hoc under German fire to neutralize artillery threatening Utah and Omaha beaches. Despite severe casualties, 77 killed, 152 wounded, the Rangers held the position until relief arrived, demonstrating the same aggressive tenacity that defined their predecessors. Across France, from Hill 400 in the Herkin Forest to numerous fortified positions, Rangers repeatedly accomplished missions conventional forces could not, often at terrible cost, yet always with exceptional determination. After the war, German officers acknowledged Rangers as elite assault troops, comparable to British commandos and Soviet Guards units. Their training, small unit tactics, willingness to accept casualties, and refusal to retreat made them uniquely dangerous and unpredictable. William Darby did not survive the war, killed in northern Italy on April 30, 1945, yet his legacy and the lessons learned from the 1st Ranger Battalion lived on. The formation of the modern 75th Ranger Regiment carries forward that lineage, training soldiers to operate with the same principles: relentless pursuit of objectives, extreme aggression, small unit effectiveness, night operations, and the expectation that Rangers accomplish missions others cannot. German forces feared Rangers not because they were invincible, but because they would not quit, could not be intimidated, and would fight under conditions that would break other units. From Anzio to Pointe du Hoc, from El Guitar to Cisterna, Rangers earned a reputation that became synonymous with courage, skill, and relentless determination, a legacy that continues to define the United States Army Rangers today.